Hello together, welcome to a new podcast of Amanthos. Together we make the first podcast in English. Our guest today is Alessandro Acquaviva. He's the CEO and founder of Acquaviva Consulting. They are focused on hospitality solutions, advisory, architectural plans and much more. He is a huge expert in this field, why we are very excited to have this podcast today with him. On my left side will be Boško Trifunovic, the CEO and founder of Amanthos. And my name is Kaito Weingart. I'm partner at Amanthos. So have fun and enjoy the podcast. Hello, so we are very happy to host our first podcast in English with Mr. Acquaviva, Ale. We are extremely happy to talk with Ale today. So enjoy the podcast.
I'm happy as well to meet you guys, and I'm happy also it's the first podcast in English.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Also from my side.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So, so today we want to talk about hospitality topics, and so I was thinking of some questions which could be interesting for tonight. One question also for Ale is what do you think about hospitality industries, also with apartments coming? When someone is a single tenant in an object, and if there is a mixed use, do you think there is a leverage from tenants against landlords, or what do you think?
Yeah, well, the hospitality field in the next last 3 or 4 years changed a lot consistently. With the corona, the COVID accelerated some process which were already in place. But the corona, of course, boosted the whole situation. So of course, was a nice period for everybody personally, also work-wise, but was also, I think, a period where some business that they were not running in the sustainability way were falling down, and so gave also the possibility to clean up a bit the field. And that now we are seeing, for example, as you asked, we are seeing a lot of office buildings which are getting empty, and not only in C location, but also in location which are quite that before were considered quite central. Solution for this location, we need to be clever. We as a consultancy, but also of course the investors and the people who puts liquidity in such a project. Why office building are getting empty? I mean, Boško, we face already this topic. The company, they don't stay with the home office. They have the tendency to just have smaller office space, and so the people is much more free to live and to work everywhere. And that comes the second topic. So the people can live everywhere, can work from everywhere. So the demand of living is not only in the house, but also everywhere. So there are some phenomena like the pleasure and the workcation, where the people it's working in the room, which is becoming not only a room but a small apartment. Because they have to have all the facility, kitchen, etc. No? And that's why this kind of product, the service apartment, co-living, how we want to boarding house, how we want to call them, are catching up, and the demand it's really there.
And how is it as an architect? You have a lot of demand from landlords who say, can you reconstruct this building? Can you collect some ideas how to do the layout plan differently? Yeah,
well, this is always a chicken egg problem. No? There are buildings and that are really compatible with the hospitality product. With hotel, there is a service apartment, etc. And these office buildings generally are 90-95% compatible in terms of layout, with the corridor in the middle and room left and right. Facade generally are quite flexible. You have flexibility in planning as much more room and optimizing the floor plan because the building allows you. So that's why it's also a good solution, planning this kind of product in this building, because also you optimize the cost. If you have to completely turn down a building to make a service apartment, maybe you think twice and maybe you think a different solution.
And do you think that's a tendency more in the cities? You said sometimes it doesn't really make sense. So does it also make sense in like smaller cities to tear down an object to make a hotel or service apartment project? What do you
to
think
tear
about
down
that?
the object only if there is a necessity to do that. I would always be keen, especially if you are in the city center.
Yeah.
You always have to try to convert the building in a different way. And small city as well. I mean, we are seeing also in some project that we are doing together with you guys, with Bosco, that also smaller city, they have demand of service apartment for the phenomenon that we say, the business and leisure things. Also the leisure now they prefer more this kind of solution. They give more flexibility in the eating, to prepare just a small dish at home, and that's why this is catching up quite because it's really fulfilling the needs of the people at the moment, work-wise and leisure-wise.
So what would you say, Ale, for the long-term development of the service apartment space? I think Switzerland, in my view, is still like a very, very attractive market in terms of development of the service apartment demand. What would you say, what trends are you seeing for the future in terms of the demand in the sector? How does it correlate with the demand in the touristic sector? Is it just a demand which is based on tourism, or would you say there's a structural shift towards the service apartment sector? And maybe also, can you give us some color on what kind of impacts does it have in terms of the hotels which are already in place, like the classical hotels? Do you see some kind of, how to say in German, Nullsummenspiel, or is it like just an added sector which grows?
No, it's a really good question. The trend of developing service apartment, is due to the demand, yes. But we have to also be careful that a lot of this new concept, they are acting as a hotel. So they are selling the room per night, clearly as a normal hotel, with the addition of the kitchen. But anyway, there is not a difference between that, and that can be, in my opinion, a bit of a problem in terms of overlapping. So because you are adding much more hotel room in a city, which were not supposed to be hotel rooms. It's supposed to be accommodation for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. This is for an extended stay. For the investor, it's a bit of a gray zone because they would like to develop such a service apartment because also in terms of solidity of concept for them goes more in the direction of apartment. So in terms of yield, in terms of solidity, of also the value they give you to the building you have, raise the value of the building. But then they have to be careful that the operator, is not acting as an hotel. Then you are adding 2,000-3,000 more room for example, in Zurich or in Switzerland, even in a small city, and then you have suddenly a problem. But the public authority, the Gemeinde, they are completely aware of that, and we can see the discussions are on the table. They are restricting already this field. Sometimes also a bit too much, to be honest. But I can understand also their reason because they don't want to have a city as an Airbnb. That's clear.
But considering the fact that you told us that, of course, the service apartment have multiple demand factors from the touristic side, maybe, and that many people already use it also for the short term or for the short stay. Many operators. So do you see a risk in terms of, if you think it through, it means also that, let's say in a crisis, you can switch to long stay, which is, adding a little bit of security for the operator. And in the good times, you can mix more and more short stay, let's say. And this naturally, in my opinion, or let's say in a rational view, should also increase also the number of service apartments there are in the market, because the investors will always also say, hey, maybe it's better to build a service apartment project and not a hotel, because I know that my operator in the crisis mode will still be able to catch a little bit of the residential demand. Would you say that this kind of relationship or this kind of structure in the market is also posing some risk for oversupply of service apartment at some point? Or
this is definitely, it's not a secret that a lot of service apartment brand now, they are splitting in a long stay and short stay. For the obvious reason, the long stay keep the occupancy in a decent level and quite a high level, and the short stay make the big revenue for the things. This is acceptable when the proportions are correct.
Yes.
When the operator decided to go all in a short stay, if the location is a AAA, probably you will succeed. But if the location start to be something a bit less central or less well connected, you will start to suffer. And not only you, but the city in general, because you are pumping up a lot of hotel room and not service apartment rooms.
And how is it with the development of like Airbnb? Do you think Airbnb is something which disrupts the hotellery? And what's the difference between Airbnb and service apartments?
Well, there are also some brand of service apartment, they are selling the room in Airbnb. So also here, there is an overlapping in the concepts, no? And there are also some brands which are service apartment, yes, but they don't own the whole building, or they don't run the whole building, but it's called diffuse service apartment. So they have some some apartment in the city, located in different locations of the city, but singular apartment, maybe 2 or 3 units. Operational wise, it's too long to talk about it, but this is exactly, and they go in concurrence with the Airbnb. And this is exactly also, as we were saying before, the big discussion in the city. The city, they don't want to have so many Airbnb concept in a small city like Zurich or Lucerne. Now the discussion. That's why these restrictions, pumping up too many rooms in a city, is not always a good area. We can see, sorry to interrupt you, Kaito, we can see in some city they block the license of new rooms. Barcelona or Amsterdam, you are not allowed to develop new hotel rooms.
Like a hotel ban.
Exactly. We don't want to arrive to that because we like in Switzerland a bit of freedom, not a bit, a lot of freedom, but they have to be careful, of course.
And how is it? I think there is quite a shortage of people searching apartments and how they find apartments. Do you think service apartment is a solution or something which works against that? And why would the city be against that? So I mean, service apartment would solve one problem, that there is a shortage of apartments in the market which you can rent. But why would the city counter that even though it's helping the city?
Well, I can imagine, you should ask them, but I can imagine they don't want to have a city center, especially like a dormitorio, like a diffuse studios structure. No, so they would like to keep the city center with the spirit of the city center and with the identity of the city center. If you do too much of that, of course you lose it. Some cities you already lost. If you go to Paris or if you go to Rome, city center, the Parisian people, they don't live anymore there, and it's becoming a diffuse Airbnb. What is the consequence of that? That the city is getting empty from the real spirit of the city, the culture of the people. Shops, you don't find anymore the cool bars or the cultural places where the people was. Paris is famous for that, where they were meeting and talk about important topic, and then you lose the identity of the city. And this, I believe, is the reason why they are going this direction. There is also, I think, a financial reason. They are Switzerland, especially in the main city, Zurich, Geneva, and they are pumping out. There is a demand of apartment growing. Even in there is a study in the next 3 or 4 years. So they are pumping up a lot of apartment in the market, and of course the big player they will have maybe a slightly more problem to sell or to rent the apartment if you have in the center just a small studio that you can rent out without any deposit, just with your credit card, without Kundigungsheit, and it's such an easy solution.
And what do you think cities like Zurich or Geneva on a global basis are acknowledged as like one of the big brands like London, Amsterdam, and I think Zurich and Geneva on a global basis also compared to that in regards to amount of people living, there is like so many people. It's like these huge cities, but in like Zurich or Geneva, you don't really have that amount of people. Do you think that will pose a problem long term, or what do you think?
No, I don't think so, because it's not the important of the quantity of the people coming. It's for sure important, but Zurich is a business city, quite important, and the enterprises are always there, growing. Even the big enterprises are all them they're here. So the business travelers, they will always be there. And it's also true during Corona, the business travel from companies were a bit reduced to cut costs. No? Yeah. But the important travelers, they're still doing that. No?
Yeah. So, yes, and I read that in Zurich, more and more also leisure tourists are coming.
That was my second point. The leisure is booming. If you, we live in Zurich. Sure. We see the city super full of tourists. I remember 10 years ago, the city center in Sunday was completely empty. If you go now, it's looks like Paris. We don't have the Eiffel Tower, but
but other things to offer. What do you think? Also coming up to the other question, which also, yes, of course, I'm thinking a lot about is a question. Where will the puck go in terms of is there a true competition between hotel and service apartments, or is it going to be the case that at some point everybody will have the same structure, or will it be separate, or what do you think about it?
It's inevitable a certain flat they say the projection in many years, it's clearly to have a standardized product. No? Yes. We can see already here today some brands that is clearly short stay till 2 or 3 years ago, and they have added some long stay solutions. No? And the other way around, some long stay products, they are adding some short term solution without even a kitchen inside. So there is of course the tendency to get all the market from the operator side. Yes. That's clear. The problem is exactly as you said, we will arrive to a level that of course there will be different trend, they will change the hospitality field, and so the operator they have to, but the trend of course is to have a monotone, let's say, market, which we should absolutely 100% try to avoid it.
And what do you think about these big brands? So maybe, not sure if everyone knows, we enjoy great consultation from Acquaviva Consulting, as we are also a hotel operator. Do you think hotel companies, like with the classic hotellery, with employees and everything, with like breakfast, gastronomy, do you think they have to adapt long term to stay competitive in the market, or do you think only service apartment also has not a benefit because you don't have like the personal aspect with people who no one is at the reception? So you don't really have this touch of human.
Well, good question. The market has already developed some brands, some called budget or lifestyle brands that they were going exactly in this direction, optimizing the people, the personnel, and reducing costs, not having a restaurant in place or no kitchen. Whereas we know as soon as you start to put a restaurant, the cost raise and must make sense. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. You do. So the hotellerie. The hotel brands, they already developed cool brands, I have to say. I don't want to mention any brand, otherwise it's but since years, not just in the last 2 or 3 years. So this is the direction. I mean, we are here in a Price Hotel, in your hotel. This is exactly an example of what you just said. You have an optimization of spaces and people, and that's the reason why you can afford to survive in a market, to have good revenues, because you don't have so much risk in this kind of cost. It's clear.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I must say, my general instinct or gut feeling is that the rates we charge, or the willingness of the customers to pay, let's say maybe 10 or 20 francs more for the reception, or for having a personal contact where when issues arrive, you never know what kind of issues can happen. Where people live, can always be some issues. To have a personal, trusted receptionist waiting and answering questions, in my personal view, I think that this is still being paid, this added service.
Absolutely.
And I really believe that, and I see that also in our Price Hotel, that when once you can solve challenges or issues, then people are happy, and they have a good feeling, because it's like home, and then they can sleep for without thinking about the issue again. So I think I don't know. What is your opinion on that? But
I'm completely agree with you. But also the service apartment brand, they agree with you because they have some public area. They call co-living or co-working or anyway, some spaces that can be used by all the inhabitants of the. And generally in these spaces, there is a person of the brand, of the operator, which is taking care of either the space, but also the people. So they in this structure as well, in this building as well, they have a point of referment with a personal touch.
So you would also agree to say, okay, if you do service apartment and if you, let's say, do this business wisely, it's maybe it's more intelligent maybe to still keep a part of the personal structure and not just think it fully through in terms of digitalization. Just for of course, this is possible to have the code and anything, but some operators are doing it quite successfully. So that's why it's an interesting question to think about. Where the puck will go and where the trend will go. Also interesting to see from your side, that you also think that way. That many operators also take it into the consideration, which is also molding, I would say, the previous thesis or topic you've raised with that everything is more and more adjusting, and you keep still the personal touch, so it gets more and more aligned, you would say, right?
This is another topic that gets more and more aligned. I mean, the digitalization in terms of operation helps clearly. Give also more freedom to the clients, to the guests of the hotel, because with an app they can order, they can do, they are free, they can book, etc. But exaggerating on that, you lose completely the touch of feeling home, but with a hospitality feeling. Hospitality means to
engage with people.
I mean, there are some boarding house called that you have just with your phone. You can you open. You don't see anybody. You don't have any common area. And this is a bit impersonal. So I agree with you. A bit personal touch.
Is going to be paid, right?
It's going to be paid. I mean, I was living in Asia for 2.5 years when I was young.
Nice. Didn't know that actually.
And this digitalization of certain things in Asia came before here, but can be much more aggressive as well. So you really can happen that you live in one place and you don't see anybody, never. And then maybe you don't go in a hospitality building, but you just rent a flat somewhere else. What is the reason why you should rent a really small things, having no touch with people, not additional service, nothing,
And I also think that if you don't employ anybody in the service apartment project or in service apartment space, I think you miss out of many opportunities, because let's say if you employ really a gifted salesperson who's also doing, let's say, the reception, I can imagine that this person is able to acquire new contacts, to also fulfill the demand which many corporates have to say, okay, if you go to some apartment for 1 month, if they send their employees there, the employees want to connect to people, and sometimes is like a psychological barrier to engage with somebody or to talk to somebody. And once there is like a community manager in place, he can organize some events or some I don't know, some parties together or trips together, I don't know, and then people can get engaged, and then they feel well once they know who's still living also in this project. And
exactly as you said, so some brands, they have, through the app, of course, it's a community tool, but they organize event, a simple bike tour in the city or a barbecue in the rooftop that they have. So because the people needs to be connected somehow. Of course, the app is good, but also a manager of a person, it's obviously the best, And this we go back to the other topic. It's leverage. It's going the direction of hotel anyway. So interaction in hospitality must be there.
And also one topic which might be interesting is like prostitution, and if there is no contact, what do you think? Is there like a development that it's getting misused, or?
Well, it's a real topic. Some brands, some service apartment situation was used clearly for this, where in country where it's allowed, of course, or even maybe where it was not allowed, it was used for this topic. There are some ways to check. The easiest, I mean, there is some software that check how many times the room opened during a day. okay, over a certain number, there is a red light. Okay, we need to check some situation. But a personal manager of the hotel, it's the best solution. He has the touch and the feeling with the reality. And this is another reason why it should be introduced a personal touch in that.
I see it totally the same way. And what is also interesting is to maybe hear your perspective on what do you think is important to be successful, let's say, with the service apartment brand or with the service apartment concept, or in general with the hospitality? What are the most important factors to consider? And if you would decide to create like a dream concept, which is maybe an ideal scenario, what would you consider in terms of the priority? What is the most important factor to consider, or the most important factors?
Bosco, this is a really challenging topic, and
I'm sorry for that question.
No, and obviously, if I have the best answer, I will keep it for myself, and I will develop my brand. Sure. I mean, okay, the location-wise is important. No, I mean, being in the middle of nowhere, nobody wants to live in the middle of nowhere. So this is location-wise. I'm an architect, so I think also design-wise must be attractive in a certain way. Not only in the room, also in the public area. Also in the public area must be attractive and challenging, and for the investor, I mean, from the investor point of view, there are now examples where they are putting so much liquidity in a lot of this product, which in my opinion, with the idea probably I have an exit in 5 years, 6 years. Those situations are probably not the right one to be followed. So you have to grow, I think, in terms of sustainability, not only with the hotel but in the service apartment, really important.
So you would say,
I know I didn't answer your question, but
to summarize it, you would say most important thing is location.
Right.
Then you would say it's focus on sustainability, also not just on the let's say CO2 world, but also in terms of what kind of qualities, materials to use. Right. This is definitely, as I'm with you on that. And third point would be the question how to design it well, and also maybe functional, right? It has to be nice, and but functional. It has not to be like over-designed at the end and not usable. I mean, that's...
For example, personally, I'm not a big fan of movable furniture, no? There are some, now the brand that has movable furniture, probably they will not be happy, but... Sure. And it's not functional, it's not practical, no? It's nice to have it, but if I have to 10 times per day, put it down the bedroom and the bed, and then put it up. After the fifth time, I leave it down. And at the end of the day, it's not really practical. Or moving the kitchen. So it must be really practical. What I like also is adding to the design. Even creating small spaces. You don't need maybe just a small carpet to create a gym corner, or so the room has to have some, even inside the room, some activity to do. There are some brands they put just a bike on the wall that they can just put it down and leave the room. So you spend a bit more, because if you go to a service apartment, you spend a bit more than a normal studio, but you have something in return, and that makes sense.
I don't know if you know the German market a little bit in terms of the service apartment space. When you compare both markets, Switzerland and Germany, can you give us like a guidance or like a trend? What do you see in both markets, and what is comparable, what is different?
Well, at the moment, the big difference, the two markets they are facing different period of the life. No, the Swiss market it's a bit more healthy than the German market, but the European market in general. No, in terms of branding, I don't see particularly difference. Even because the brand that they're in Germany, and they want to join Switzerland, and the other way around. We have many examples. Swiss service apartment going in Germany as well, south of Germany, and then in the whole Germany. So in terms of branding, because the language helps, of course, it's I don't see particularly problem. The German market has more, let's say, capacity to to welcome much more units, but not because it's bigger, but because as many the 7 city in Germany, as many business center cities that have a lot of needs of that. As Switzerland, you have Zurich, Geneva, but then Bern, Basel, you have to be careful because not always will work there. Will work, but location is important, connection with the city is important if it's not in the city center, etc., etc. Germany has an infrastructure much more ready to gain more units in percentage to the population, of course.
Following up on this question, also in regards to the need of the market, I mean, for a landlord, it's always the best benefit if he gets the most revenue per square meter. Why do you think does it still make sense to rent it out operationally to like fitness or have some space like a lobby?
I mean, the mixed use, it's perfect for the service apartment.
Okay.
They are created to leave the entrance floor empty and to have a mixed use with other usage, completely compatible with the service apartment. Gym or even an F&B product, completely compatible. So for this, yes. In terms of square meters, I would not think in that direction. I mean, we cannot compare renting an office building per square meters. To a service apartment and make the calculation of the square meters. For many reasons, but the obvious reason is that the service apartment or the hotel, they will stay for 20 years, theoretically, hopefully. No vacancy in the building. For 20 years, they will take care of the maintenance. It's a double net contract. The office building, you never know. They have short contract, 5 years generally. They can leave any time. And you can happen that the building is empty for half a year. And then you have to compensate in the square meters that you didn't get. So if you invest in a hospitality industry, you have to think in a different way. You have some risk, of course, yes, but you cannot apply the principle that you use for an office space. You give the building turnkey to the operator, and they take care of everything for 20 years. And it's like as we said before, it's like a marriage with a woman for 20 years. You have to make sure that you're putting inside your house somebody that can stay with you for 20 years.
Absolutely. Sometimes not that easy to judge.
It's not easy in the life, and then it's not easy in the.
Absolutely.
I mean, you just got married, so I wish you the best.
And we'll sit together after 4 weeks. So it's a great performance. Thank you for that.
I saw her here, so he's still working.
She's still there. No, great. So to be a little bit maybe more precise. I really like the Swiss market, of course, and I see a huge potential in it. I really like also the Swiss mentality, how to do things, and also this decentralized, let's say, decision making. I think on average, the decisions will be more intelligent, better than when some central function does it. So, and I see also in terms of the touristic development of Switzerland, really a huge push and demand, and people are really also in terms of crisis, of course. I have the feeling that the tourists are also seeking secure markets and also markets which are not that hot. So it's not 50 degrees in Berner Oberland. It's maybe.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
How? Because, I mean, you are an operator. I'm not an operator. But how do you? I mean, the Corona was really a red line, no? Before Corona, after Corona, no? And also in terms of risk, no? Because nobody thought that was coming a pandemic and everybody could have not travel, etc. So how do you prevent this risk? There are certain measures that an operator already in a long-term strategy can prevent this risk in terms of contracting with the ownership, but also in terms of operational and in marketing, booking, or in terms of concept. I don't know.
Definitely. I mean, maybe this touches also your question on the topic we discussed before. I mean, what is definitely a big hedge I would say, and that's what we are trying to do long term as well in our hotels, is that we want to make it fit for the crisis mode, because we, as a family company, we go step by step, of course, and we don't want to do huge tail risks. So of course the first thing is to have a flexible rent agreement. I think it's a very important thing to share the upside and also to limit the downside at some point. But we see in the market more and more understanding, which I really like in Switzerland, that more and more landlords are really thinking through the operations and even want to know how the operations work, what the business case are. And this is really, I really like that, because
which is a good sign, no?
Yes, that was not. My feeling was pre-COVID, it was not so much the case like it is now. So we really had some big successes in the past where landlords are really trusting us and saying, okay, for us it's important that you work well, that you also earn some money, and that you pay, let's say, the variable rent if things go well. And definitely that's the way to go, I think, where we have the operational, the first big aspect, to have the operational to limit the operational downside. The second thing I would say is to think through scenarios in advance, to say, okay, is my hotel, my service apartment property, is it fit for crisis? What happens if 100 hotels, 100 rooms are not, there's no group bookings anymore? What do you do? And we thought about it to be, to have access to also this, I would say this is not residential, but to the residential near market, where we can switch. And now we are planning to, implement also at a 20, 30, 30% of our pipeline to be also with kitchenettes, maybe, where you can really switch then and earn at least some long stay revenue. And you can switch to students, you can switch maybe to people who need a stay for 1 month because they come new to Switzerland. So accessing this new target group, which is not directly linked to touristic development, is, I think, a very good strategy how to limit also the downside. And that's what we're trying also to think always through what to do, and having also capital on the side in the event if it's really necessary to then switch off to maybe more the service apartment style of operation. I think it's also a good way how to prepare.
Yeah. And also, what we discussed this question quite a lot, and we always think there will be a demand for apartments. So either it's residential, either it's travel, either it's business, corporate, or if everything would not work, then you have a big demand for elderly homes. So I mean, you can always pivot from a hotel, because you always have the bed and the shower. I mean, the kitchenette is also important if you are locked down. But that's the reason why Boschko also said we are trying to long-term implement kitchenettes, so it really can be shut off. Yep. I mean, also Corona, if something like that comes, they also need rooms to isolate the people.
For example, yeah.
And then the city also can't pay huge rents or huge prices. So the first pick would be a hotel where they have one room with the necessary infrastructure. And they wouldn't pick an apartment with 5.5 rooms at Bahnhofstrasse. I mean, the city pays it, and I mean, the city also doesn't want to spend too
absolutely
much.
To maybe add a third point, which is also very important, is to build, for us, for Amanthos, it's really important to have trust relationships long term with the people. So if some crisis mode happens, I think the most important thing is to communicate transparently the issues you have with the landlord, to go not to go in silent mode and not to to go away somewhere. I think if there is a challenge with a crisis, I think many landlords, we are trying to do that always, really appreciate, or all landlords will appreciate if you communicate directly what the issue is, and if you really step out and do it proactively. And this way, people will know, okay, these operators, they do their best to find a solution for the current crisis, for the current challenge, to think creatively about solutions, not just, having this one-sided focus on touristic groups, for example, which in that case, when a comparable crisis hits, doesn't work anymore. So I think this is also maybe a soft topic which you cannot write in the contract, but just in terms of how do you prepare your company to have the right mentality, that not just, let's say, one person acts that way, that of course, you as a leader, you lead the way, and but it's really important in my view, and that's what we really look at when we hire new people. What kind of value systems do the people have? Do they also live by that, to really communicate transparently and to find solutions? And I think this is a soft factor which is very important, actually.
But I'm with you. The landlord are much more interested in understanding the business principle of the operator.
Absolutely.
During the Corona, during the COVID, some hotel were suffering, obviously,
Yeah, sure.
and I was involved in as a consultant between the operator and there you have two ways. Either the operator leaves. But then it's a loss for both.
Yes.
Or a solution is found between the parties, and a clever solution, a balanced solution.
Yes.
For this reason, the ownership has to understand the operational. Otherwise, they don't get the business model. No.
Yes.
And then I think these events are making the investor more sensitive on these topics.
Definitely.
Which for the operator, I think is great. No?
Very good. Also from the initial start, because I experienced in the past more openness for hybrid flexible solutions, but I think also in the later stage, even when you have a contract in place, and to find then solution, this openness is the same feeling I have as well, is increasing, which is very favorable for the whole business, because it's a pity if you really have talented people who you build and who are working in this company environment, and then of course it's always tough to leave people, but if people leave because they don't have this, they think for 1 year it makes no sense anymore to work at a hotel because I have other genres. I think we have also this obligation towards the people you've informed, and the teams you've built, that they can keep their job, and there's also at some point a social obligation as well.
But you use this principle of openness and transparency also in your company, or
definitely. So maybe you can share it. I mean, I would be interested, conflicted. So let's you can tell it better than
elaborate on that point. So I learned everything.
Be careful of how you.
I will take care of what I say, or otherwise I won't have a chat tomorrow. No, but I learned everything from Boschko from the start. He was extremely transparent. He never had secrets, you could say. He always showed me that's how I do it. And I mean, that's the information I give you. What you do with the information, it's up to me. So I tried my best to follow Boschko, how he does it, how he practices it. And he's a great leader, always leading by principle. So he's always also the guy who was the latest in the office, who was in the morning here. So after a while, I think it was the third week, I was like, what's happening with him? Does he have like a hidden, like a sleeping bag under his office chair? Because it was crazy. I never experienced it before. I was only used to like this clocking in, clocking out at like student jobs.
And you think this approach has an impact? Clients that arrive in the hotel, they can feel the atmosphere, they can feel the environment of the company we work with, or not?
To be honest, I think, for example, at the front desk, it has negative influences, because when some person comes to the hotel and sees the same person 24 hours, then he'll be like, do you have a leash in the back, or what kind of laws do you practice?
But I think your question was more directed into, if this kind of leadership translates also to the people at the front desk, So
to the service in hotel,
to the
in
service
general,
in the hotel, and then also ultimately to the customers.
So what I can say, to elaborate on that thing, I think it has a huge impact, because other people are also motivated. And if you have a boss who is, sitting in Ibiza or Côte d'Azur and drinking his champagne, then you don't really have the motivation, or you have other binding to like the management or like the upper level of the company. And when I saw Boschko working day and night, I was also like, okay, I wonder how long he stays. Can I beat him? Can I stay longer? And then I think the
he's
challenge
always
starts.
trying to beat me, and sometimes he succeeds,
And,
which makes me happy.
Recently, I think I'm more in the office, but also due to
absolutely
private obligations. I mean,
I'm a married man.
Otherwise, the newly married wife won't be happen. But I think that has a huge influence also on the whole team. And then if everyone has the same mentality, or they also take in this mentality of staying longer, going the extra mile. And if you don't have someone who preaches or who practices it, even more important, then you will never reach it with anyone. So I always observe a lot of new people who start. We see like everyone working quite hard, a bit or much more than average, you can say. And then they also try to practice that because they say, okay, wow, that's very interesting. That's something which aligns with me. If it doesn't, I mean, normally in 3 months they resign, but like that, I think you also
That's
are
a company
able
culture
to.
then.
No,
to
and you know why I ask you that
company.
because
Yeah.
especially in upper scale level hotels,
Yeah.
no. When I enter in these hotels as a
Yeah.
guest, in 10 minutes I can tell you if
Yeah.
the boss is
Yeah.
a good boss or if they have some problem.
Yeah.
Can imagine.
It's clear.
Can imagine.
For sure, you guys as well. So
Maybe to add on that, one point is I think also very important. I read a very interesting book on that topic, also on the leadership topic, but it was also centered on hospitality. The book is called Enlightened Hospitality from Danny Meyer, who scaled Shake Shack businesses, the restaurant businesses, and of course he has, let's say, the same solutions and issues and challenges like a hotel business. And I must say, he mentioned one point which I tried to keep it up that way, is that you have this kind of positive mindset. Of course, everybody talks about positivity and that it's like a given, but I think especially in challenges, to still see, you can see in any minus you can see a plus in the solution, and to ingrain this kind of positive mindset and this like empathy and emotional intelligence for people to say, okay, I know where you're standing and I know what you're thinking about, and let's all together as a team try to find a positive solution and to think positively. And ultimately, my experience is when you as a leader are positive and you believe yourself the solution, the people are going to be positive. So that's why, for example, in Price Hotel, we have a team in place, which is really when we meet each other, we are very positive. Of course, there will be always challenges and we try to find a solution. But I have the feeling that this kind of positivity really brings out the most of people because they like to be there. And of course, money is important for paying checks and everything, for having everybody has fixed costs, of course. But what I think more glues people together is this kind of companionship, positive companionship. Yeah. And that's at least how we try to implement it the right way and to build teams around it. But at the end, it's always, I think it's the teams who are doing the job, and in this book he really mentioned it, that this kind of emotional intelligence and also this positivity towards the guests, that this is, let's say, 60% of value you generate and 40% is just technical. And the technical stuff you can learn it faster than the positivity stuff. So what we search for when we hire people, we search for this positive mindset and people who are giving energy to guests and not taking it from them. So and that's really important. I think a base is also a cornerstone of our culture. Yeah. Would you say so, or is it just myself talking? Or I don't know. You can criticize me.
So I completely agree with Bosko, and I think what I also saw a lot of times is when Bosko is positive, I also try to be positive. Then you already have a cluster of 2 people, and I mean, if there is a third person and he's very negative, then he's affected by us because we are a majority. It's like always a majority, and then if the third person is also positive, then you can challenge 2, then 3, 4, 5, and the effect is quite exponential. And we also realized like a few negative people can really take the whole team down, as it affects others
contagious.
Mentally.
The negative is really contagious.
Exactly.
As the positiveness.
And also the hotel job is not an easy one. I mean, housekeeping is not an easy job or not the most fun job. So we really have to appreciate that job. Front office, exactly the same. you have amazing customers, but you also have the downside. You don't have the most pleasant customers. So you have to really stay positive. So you affect the other co-workers so they also stay positive.
In terms of operational, you just touch a point. When you have down period, no, of course with Zurich it's not too much seasonal, but nevertheless you will have some occupancy period or less. But how do you make your worker occupied, or how you distribute the
time?
Yeah.
Maybe
can I say it?
Yes.
So I was waiting on this question because Boschko has an amazing quote. So I will start quoting Boschko, and he always says, "There is always something to work on," and I think that's also something Boschko lived by and proved that time by time that there's always something to improve, somewhere to like make a screw, some tiny spot in the edge to clean. So you never run out of anything. You just have to search for what has to be done, and that's also a point of the management. So they really have to think, what can I improve? What now in the time where I don't really have that stressy work? How can I deploy the people the best so they can do the small work? And what we did was like doing the inventory, cleaning everything, thinking of ideas how to improve the check-in time so you can check in more people in a shorter frame of time. That was something we did. We also improved our booking ratings. You're thinking, how can we improve the booking? How can we improve the breakfast? How can we reduce the costs? How can we make more profit? And that's all small points, which is a result of a lot of people who work together. Otherwise, only one person, he would be here 24/7 and could do only like 20% of the whole output.
You can mention the idea of our new shampoo.
So one great idea, it occurred to us when we ate Asian food in Affoltern on a random Tuesday, I think. And we had the idea, we calculated the cost for shower gels, and we realized we spent 2,000 francs only for shampoo. And
every month.
And what we realized
here in the price.
Exactly. Okay. And what we saw is there are shampoo bottles for 0.75 liters, bigger than this water bottle. It's crazy, and it's empty in a day. So the housekeeping fills it up every morning when they clean the rooms or do the restaurants, and it was empty. So we had a few customers who emptied 0.75 liters a day.
We were preparing drinks.
So like water.
I don't know what they do with it. So we had the idea, because my mother is Japanese and I have a Japanese background, to use the brand of Japan to import shampoo from Japan, and you also can
to produce it,
or even produce it from scratch. So it smells nice. You have good fragrance.
Control the quality. Yeah.
But this is typical of the upper scale brand, but why not in the budget you can implement as well?
Exactly. So we are thinking we can reduce our costs and we build a new business with a new brand.
Yeah, sure.
And we can implement in our hotel. And the more we grow, the more benefit also we can reap from this own innovation.
It's also vertical integration at the end to save costs and also to create maybe a new business.
Yeah. And we can use smaller sizes, 0.25. So everyone is happy, I think.
No, but the question was also because now you have 2 or 3 hotel open, no?
Yes.
But in pipeline, I know it's quite long, the pipeline.
Thanks also to yourself.
Absolutely. But how you intend to create synergy between the hotel in terms of personnel? So, for example, you have an hotel in the mountain in Interlaken.
Yes.
City hotel, it's something different. There is much more seasonal. Here, not. So, do you move people in between your hotels and optimizing it and keeping all the people never fired because you are optimizing them, or what is your idea behind?
So what we really try to do is you need, I think, a centralized management, because if you have managers, I mean, it's the most highest paid job because he can solve the most problems. But in reality, you only need one very well centralized management, which is placed on both places. And they can micromanage or also better coordinate the people. And then you can cut off a whole management sphere. And then you have a much higher output because people can report even higher. Because if you have a middleman who gets reports, then he maybe tweaks the reality and then reports higher up. So what I see in corporations is it's like in kindergarten you always have this game where you tell someone something in the ear, and he tells it further, and you have like from banana you have a monkey or something like that, and it's such a big difference between the reality and the output of the reality that you really have to cut off.
Information asymmetry at the
exactly.
end.
Which is why you have to cut off this middleman.
We are copying Switzerland in terms of the Swiss model.
And then you reduce your costs, you reduce your effectiveness, and then you also have the better synergies between the people, because otherwise you risk that one manager is like, wow, this scary manager, he never talked a word to me, and I worked like 4 years here. And we don't really want to have that. We want to know everyone. I mean, Boschko, as like CEO and founder of the company, knows everyone by name. That's also not...
I hope for him in the future not, because it means you grow exponentially.
Yes. We try at least, because at the end, the people are the most important asset at the end. Because I'm trying to, in the future at least, I try to focus more on the strategy part and the vision part and the development part. But the true heroes operations are managed by people who do it better than me at the end. I mean, people, and I appreciate that. I told to me, who's managing our front desk, many times that her job and how she does it is really, tough for me. I could not. Maybe I would maybe explode. I don't know. It would be tough, and I appreciate that. And I think it's a two-way street at the end. And once you have this kind of appreciation in the company, people are more motivated. They know that it makes sense to give their best. And I think it's also a big point is that you know what you know and know what you don't know as much, and that's why I think this is the most intelligent structure for the future.
And I also have a point. So I think you really have to put the egoism away. So I think a big misconception is also in like these huge corporations. It's like, I'm here and you're like down here, so don't even look at me. I'm like here, the boss. And you really have to appreciate, for example, housekeeping, and put your ego away that you're maybe you have more knowledge, or I don't know what you have, more education, and you have to be able to appreciate all the people, all their works. I mean, if you think you can do it all, then try it. And if you have more than 100 rooms, it's somewhere you reach your like capability. Even if you work 24 hours, it's like an impossible task.
It's a teamwork.
It's teamwork at the end.
But I mean, we are in a hotel where the brand was founded with these principles. We were talking before the Price Hotel was founded years ago, and the current CEO of the company, we both know, started behind the desk, at the reception, and making drinks. And I remember when sometimes we had some meetings in Price Hotel in Hamburg, etc. He was already the CEO. What he did was, again, going behind the bar and serving us a drink. So it's a mindset, I think.
Definitely.
And which is absolutely winning in the industry.
Absolutely.
And if someone does similar tasks as you do, then it's much more human, I think.
Yeah. Do you think? Sorry, I'm becoming the.
No problem. It's interesting.
Do you think? I mean, I'm an older generation. I'm almost 50. What I see,
you look much younger.
This was a penalty. I know it's not the truth.
This was a penalty, I must say.
No, I'm seeing also with the new generation. When you hire a new person, which has probably 2 or 3 generation difference from you, it's a different mindset, of course, and they think more in an entrepreneur point of view. But do you have any problem with this kind of approach in terms of request, or in terms of freedom that you must give to your to your guys, or can be, I think, an advantage, but can be sometimes also a bit difficult to manage, no?
Well, it depends. I would say it depends always on the position you're hiring. I mean, you're maybe coming from the angle that that people, are more creative people who are not, let's say, punching the clock, and who want to have a lot of autonomy, a lot of freedom, because I think, consultants and architects, I think they need this kind of freedom space, and it's tough to find then an intelligent corporate structure with this things which make you successful, which you search for. It's tough to find to build a company of 100 architects. I think is really quite impossible. But I think in the hotel space or in the hospitality space, it's maybe a little bit easier. Why is that? It's easier because you can implement processes which are recurring. We search, just as I've mentioned before, we search for the right values, and we want to acquire the right people, and we like to acquire young people because they will much more mold into the entrepreneurial culture, and they will much more be learning and be open for new things because they are still in the learning phase, and then it's good to build them long term and then to create really strong structures with these young people who are absolutely identifying with the company.
Well, I think the biggest mistake you can do is to hire a young person and don't listen to the young person. Because for sure they are fresh from university, but anyway they have a different approach on the life.
Yes.
And which is an added value. No?
I think I can represent this generation quite well because I'm also not that old.
Let's not go in detail. But
And I think what I really see in my like old friends or from people I was in school with, a lot of people have quite a misconception about the term entrepreneurship. So I think a lot of people think you just make one dropship store and then you make 100 millions or something like that. So they don't really know how hard the reality is, how hard money is earned, how much work behind someone successful is. Yes. I mean, you two have huge successes, and you put your whole life, compounded efforts, and I also now realize when I was younger I was also thinking, it's like entrepreneurship, the cool thing you can put on your Instagram story.
Or you do a YouTube channel and
and then you make like that and you're famous. But I think there's a huge misconception that a lot of people think that's just the easy way. But they don't really know how it is in reality. Yeah. And I think it's also a bit of a pity because you have less respect for entrepreneurs or even smaller entrepreneurs.
You're right. The trend is in that direction. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, you touch an interesting point. How the social media are entering in the hotel, in the hospitality.
We use it, of course. I mean, with the LinkedIn platform, I think we can reach a lot of business guests, potential companies who work with us as partners. That's definitely a big point. We have, I think, a lot of followers as a young company. So that's really a key way how we can communicate effectively what we stand for, what we want, what we expand, what we can offer, what kind of added value we generate for the business community. That in that way, I would say LinkedIn is really a very good platform, and also in terms of acquiring new personnel. I would say my brother, because he's the technical guy, and he has really we have no big issue with hiring new people via LinkedIn or social media, because we receive quite a lot of applications because of the fact that we are transparent, and people can Google us, can look at hear the podcast and engage with and at an early stage with the company. And this way we really, I would say, we are trying. We can of course be better, but this way I have the feeling it enters in a way, to answer your question, that we can solve this kind of problem to get young new people with bright minds, get across to them and give them a platform where they can know more about Amanthos and see if there's a fit.
And marketing and the social media.
In terms
there is
of marketing,
maybe
to add on that, in marketing we have, of course, the Instagram channels where we are targeting more the leisure guests. So for example, Bruno and Michaela, they're doing a very good job to communicate, let's say, the good things about Interlaken, about our hotel there, and to reach people that are building it at the moment. And I think Interlaken is also a big example what digitalization did to Interlaken in a positive way, because I remember stories from the past 20 years ago where they had really a lot of group business with low rates, and now they really transformed themselves by Netflix series or by the pictures where people are coming to Interlaken and they're promoting automatically with nice pictures this location. And this is really, I think, a big milestone why Interlaken is so successful. So, but I cut it you for you.
So my take on that's a bit maybe unique. So I think social media is obviously the future. I mean, you can reach so many people. I mean, for example, Ronaldo has more followers than the population of multiple countries added up.
Not only, also money of
yes, it's absolutely crazy. But I think on one side that's the benefit. On the other hand side, on the complementary side, you have, like, with this traction you get on a brand or some business, you can also have quite a fast downfall. So I mean, if you make marketing really well and you grow by posting more, and then the more you post, the higher the risk is that you make mistakes.
Concentration risk you have.
Yes, exactly. That you make big mistakes because you post too much to grow faster. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword as well. And the more people see a post, for example, if you make Price Hotel post or Chalet Suisse post, and one post has 5 viewers, maybe one person doesn't like it, 4 like it, and then you only have 4 likes. It's only a number in the end, but if you have 3 million people who like it, and then in the same percentage, so 1 out of 5, that would be, I don't know, almost over 150k people who don't like it, it's like the same percentage, it's like much, much more people, even though it's the same ratio.
So it's a double-edged tool for you.
It's a scalable chances and scalable risks.
Exactly. And it can also lead to quite fast downfalls. So there are big businesses like Starbucks, for example, who is in social media like bullied, you can even say. So people really boycotted like the brand, and the CEO was sacked as a result. So I think that's quite a pity as well.
And then the question is how you react to negative comments on your debt.
Yes, exactly. That's a huge point.
Yeah, and I think it's also quite Pareto optimal. So 80% of people will be happy, and I mean, you can't please 100%. It's such a high barrier, so you have to aim at 90%, 92, 95%. But if you have too many people, then this number gets too high, this 5%. So it's really a hard question you ask us. Yeah.
And another topic, the booking.
Yes.
I mean, it's years that hotel operators are trying not to use the booking.com or the big platform for obvious reason, to save the 12-15% of the fixed fee. Not really a lot succeeded in that. So my opinion, the hotels, service partner as well, are still a lot depending on the booking.com or the other platform. Do you have a strategy on this? How to make the booking directly on your website or direct booking? Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have. I would not call it strategy at the moment. We have. I would say we have ideas how to, what to do in future to reduce the costs, and of course I think booking is a great tool. I mean, it can be also refinanced in some way with high rates. However, I think what is our aim in the future, what will be our aim in the future, is of course also to use artificial intelligence for that, is the contact to the end customer, the end guest, which means that I think it's a great tool for the initial acquisition of the guest, but our responsibility and our aim is then to catch that guest you know, and to bring it into our realm, let's say, in our communication of newsletters, of special loyalty points, let's say, when a guest arrives more times. And we are thinking about implementing these kind of solutions, and also to use maybe AI on the way how to do it, because it's mass data, you know. Many hoteliers, I would take the point of view that they struggle maybe with this massive data, and with the additional cost it means to employ 2 or 3 or 4 people to just send newsletters out and to catch and to crawl the data of the people and to contact them again. So I think that can be in the future a little bit better solved by using artificial intelligence. If you have like automatic the selection, when you do a selection of guests automatically, and to communicate with them more efficiently by technology, I think we will have a real chance to, you know, get more access to the end customer at the end.
Yes, so we broke down this problem. So we also were thinking, I mean, it's not a small percentage they take for what they do. I mean, they only provide the platform. I mean, it's great, but in the end, they just provide the platform to post it. And so we broke it down to like different branches. Like, what do you have? So you have corporate travel, where you make direct contracts. You have like group business. Then you have individual travelers who book over phone or website. Then you have these OTA like Expedia or Booking. And what we really realized is, in the end, when you Google a hotel, so what you see is Google ratings,
yes,
Booking rating, Expedia rating, and out of these 3 topics or ratings, you take out the conclusion how good a hotel is, as you don't have like any values to evaluate that hotel. You're like, okay, even if you have more time, it's even more in detail. Then you look at the ratings, Google, okay, it's pretty good. How is it on Booking? Okay, pretty good. And on Expedia, pretty good. Then you're convinced. But like if you see it on Booking on 9.0, for example, but on Google with like 1.5, then you're like, ooh, what's in the bush? Mm-hmm. Did they make the bookings themselves? Like they paid Indians or I don't know, some people who make the ratings for us. So it's always, you have to keep these 3 high, and then like the rest of the business follows in like these other brackets. But you have to have this face to the customer on the website pretty highly rated. Otherwise, you don't get this other business. And then you can like pivot and like reduce this OTA, because you have like this good rating on the internet. And then more focus on the other ones, because you can also convince them more easily that you have this good rating.
And how much is the percentage you have direct booking comparing to the booking?
I think it's 14%. Right?
40% direct booking.
We have 14% direct booking. Then, I mean, OTA.
Well, I mean, direct booking is, it depends where, you know. I mean, in Price Hotel, I would say it's between 40 and 50% direct, and it's, or even maybe
even more,
even 60% direct, and
Booking is like 20%.
Booking is 20%, and then we have 20% groups.
Yeah.
That's good.
Then Interlaken is
a little bit
completely different story.
The other way around, right?
Yeah, it's like 60% booking.
Yes.
So
because
it's also,
the groups are coming also from abroad. Interlaken is a place also not only for also Zurich, but Asian market. Interlaken is quite So they go to Booking. Booking.com.
Exactly.
A lot. Yes, a lot through Booking, but I think there's a huge potential there for the long term. I mean, there are some companies who do it quite well, I must say. I mean, I don't know if you know, for example, Premier Inn, for example, they have like 99 or 98% direct. Yeah. So this is really good, and chapeau to them. I mean, that's really a good result. Therefore, I think there exist solutions. We just have to, I think, use technology more, use innovations to get it. I think the efficiency is important to do it efficiently and to use technology to get where you want.
go back to the starting item discussion we had on service apartment. No?
Yes.
So the service apartment, they have a really small percentage in Booking.com.
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
So the direct booking service apartment is quite consistent. No?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the target group or the usage of the room it's a bit different. So
Yes.
this is for sure an advantage. One of
That
the
is an
advantage.
advantage. Yes, definitely. So I mean this, but therefore I think I'm convinced it's all about organization. It's about having the right process in place, being innovative, and I think the hoteliers have a lot of edges they can use, and I think it's always important to be productive yourself and to think how can you improve things, and then there will be I think there's a, how you say, Daseinsberechtigung in German for the hoteliers, and I see that when I was in North Italy, for example. I mean, the rates people are paying for like the premium hotels are really, really high, and this gives me again, the feeling that the hotel industry, also even the classical hotel, are here to stay for the long term, and that they will find solutions also with technology to create this experience which people like, especially in the leisure segment. I mean, in Interlaken, we knock on wood, very, very successful because it's a classical hotel. But people like these kind of this charm, Swiss charm with the chalet, and this coziness. They really like it, and they're willing to spend their money also on their short leisure activities in the year, and they don't want to save money on that. Therefore, it was my feeling. It really convinced me that in the right locations, that a classic hotel has really also staying power.
Absolutely.
Maybe to touch on that point, what do you think about service apartments in terms of ratings? Like in the hotel, you have 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, and even more. Service apartment, if I'm not mistaken, you don't really have this classification.
No, it's not true. I mean, now to talk about stars also in the hotellerie, it's a bit anachronistic. Or at least, yes, there is an official classification in Swiss hotellerie, etc. But what really counts is let's say, the real positioning of the hotel. Now, the word lifestyle or it's really catching up since here, etc. Now, also in the service apartment, you have some budget product, some middle product, but also some high-end product. So you have some luxurious also service apartment brand. Again, I don't want to name any brand, but so you have a different classification in terms of design, in terms of space, size, in terms of quality and price. At the end of the day, everything is transformed on price. What I see in the new development, especially also in the mountain, is that the investors now, they have the tendency not only to develop an hotel, but always to put next to it some service apartment. So service apartment in the percentage of 30-70%. So 30% always of apartment for long period. This is also reflecting some investment strategy. So the apartment can even be sold as a Stockwerkeigentum. So the investor has an immediate return on the investment in that part, and is a buy to lead to let. So the apartment go back to the operational, creating synergies there. There are some branded residences for the 5-star branded residences, for example. Every big 5-star brand now has a specific brand for residences that can be standing alone residences or in the hotel residences, etc. Of course, must be always a certain, as we said before, a certain amount of services. Otherwise, you just rent a normal apartment up in the mountain. and there is no difference on that. Why you should pay more to have what? But this is the tendency also in the mountain. What is missing in the mountain, maybe, I'm certain, are some, let's say, lifestyle budget brands. Of course, it's quite seasonal, the touristic leisure destination. So this is probably the barrier. That's why the big brands and in this niche they don't really go there. But exactly, I see space in service apartment or a part hotel or a part resort, as you want to call it, and in the budget and the lifestyle segment.
Wouldn't you say that the service apartments in these regions have maybe a tough time to compete with hotels, because hotels have, when I think about the duration of the stay, when I'm thinking about going somewhere for 7, 8, 10 days, and let's say you don't have these amenities or facilities like a tennis court or I don't know, a spa or something like that. What do you think about the edge of these boutique hotels, which offer all these, a lot of stuff, of course, but also gastronomy, which people like, especially in the mountains? Is it then possible to compete with service apartments where it's still, of course, maybe it's lean luxury, maybe you have luxurious design, but you still don't have these amenities like a spa,
it's everything is related to the location.
Yes.
Mountain less, city more. No. So the principle is, if you take a service apartment in a prime location in city of Zurich, you find in the 100 meters all the services you need. You don't need to have it at home.
Yes. Yes.
If the location it's a bit worse and a bit farther, where the urban let's say surrounding doesn't offer this kind of attractiveness, then they will suffer. The advantage of the service apartment, especially in good location, is that they can live with with few units. They can offer. They can open an hotel, a service apartment hotel with 20-30 units. Without optimizing the cost, the discussion we had before. Hotels, as soon as you put F&B, boutique hotel is really nice, you put F&B, good to have it, but our cost. I see more this is as an issue. Of course, if you are in a B location, C location, a bit more far away, the boutique hotel has a for sure a bit also a bit of exactly, because anyway it creates your world inside that you don't find in the proximity.
Yes. Okay, it's interesting. It's an interesting perspective because
at least this is my perspective.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. Yeah, if you think about it, it just categorically this is not working there. I think it's a tough spot.
I mean, for me, it doesn't exist a good or bad location. Exists a good product for this location or not. So each location has a product,
and you have to adjust. Of course.
And you have to find the position is the first. How many examples we saw that didn't work out, even if the hotel was really good, well designed, brand also important, didn't work out. It was wrong size, wrong brand in the wrong location.
And do you think that the brands are going to be more important in the future or less important, considering the fact of the new generation coming up, how they think and?
It also depends on the positioning, but for example, in the luxus world, it's a brand. It's 95% of the thing.
Yes.
Without talking, or maybe this time let's name a hotel.
Yes.
If you talk about the Dolder in Zurich, amazing hotel, iconic hotel, exactly, historical building plus a new part done by Foster, famous architect. So everything has there. You can imagine if it would be branded with a super prime hotel, would be the hotel of Zurich. But I see also in the middle upper scale is like that. Exception of boutique hotel, of a successful boutique hotel are always there. I mean, it doesn't need to be branded, because also you have some disadvantage sometimes when you are branded in terms of operational and fee, etc. We all know that. So again, each location has also a different structure of facing this problem.
Yes, I have the feeling a little bit that there was like a inflation of brands a little bit. I don't know if I'm right on that, but my gut feeling is that a lot of sub brands are
and
have been on the market.
What happened that the big families, the big holding with a lot of brands, they acquire so many.
Yes.
And they have maybe sometimes even double, triple brand in the same position.
Yes.
Just to get more target piece of cake of the market, which, to be honest, I never understood 100%. But it is like that.
Yeah,
but on the other hand, was also strategy of the brand, the new brands to have an exit in 5 years, 7 years. So open the brand, develop as much more possible location, and then sell the brand to the big families. So it was a double side needs.
Yes.
This is what I don't like. I mean, the monopoly in everything it doesn't work, especially in the hospitality.
It makes it inefficient and
exactly.
lethargic.
What I see is like these brand hotels have this infrastructure, so like the base level is quite high.
Yeah.
But if you're like private, you either are below that or like much higher because you are more flexible.
Yeah.
And I think that's also maybe one point.
So but maybe to wrap it up, not to talk too long. Maybe I have one final question for you as an hotel expert and as an very very informed expert for the Swiss market. Which is the best hotel in the world for you?
This I will never reply even under torture.
So you cannot name one, or could you? You don't have to tell it. Could you pinpoint one hotel where you say, "Wow, this
one country maybe"?
Well, your home, half home. So Japan has a few hotels that were amazing. Yeah.
I would say not with Amanthos, Tokyo. No one knows.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Ale, for being here.
Thank you, guys.
It was really a pleasure. And I think that we should continue on that. Maybe also in the next, 1 or 2 years to make it more often, because I think there are so many questions and things to discuss and trends to discuss. And the good thing is that things are changing fast in the world, and it's always good to catch up with you. And thank you also for your support always.
And your time.
Yes, coming over.
I thank you really for the invitation. It was really a pleasure to stay with you tonight.
Thank you.
We should do that often, because trends in hospitality are changing quite fast. Thank you again.
Thank you. All the best.